Sure,
What would
yeah,
you
yes, like
suggest?
I'm figuring out the Facebook Live.
I know
So,
this is all new for us, guys.
yeah, yeah, it's the first time we're doing Zoom webinars, so yeah, it's doing something. Anyways, meanwhile, yeah, let me introduce myself. My name is Elena, and I work with Alejandra as an exercise therapist. I'm also a yoga instructor, Hatha and Kundalini yoga, and registered massage therapist. So yeah, in my practice, I see a lot, of course, complaints about lower back pain, probably the most common. And today I would like to share what I find in my practice, like what's the cause from my perspective, what's the cause of this problem, and what do I do to treat it, and maybe show some exercises, some postures specifically that addresses that muscles that you can do on your own at home to release the tension. Yeah.
So, one of the issues that a lot of people are having right now is people are working long hours from home, and lots of people are spending a lot of time sitting, often sitting in desk or chairs that are not ergonomically well adjusted. There's also a lot of uncertainty, a lot of anxiety going on right now in the world with people, and also there is less. A lot of people are not moving as much anymore as they used to before. So a lot of gyms, studios, well, everything is closed right now. So it's this combination of prolonged sitting, a lot of stress, not enough exercises, often not having the ideal desk and chair at work. While working from home, it's flaring a lot of lower backs. So one of the important things to understand is that when you're in this situation and your back is aching or is hurting, it's a signal that your body's trying to tell you that it is time to move. It's time to stand up, to move around, to stretch. In physiotherapy, we always say motion is lotion. So in order for your joints, for your muscles to be well lubricated, for the pain to go down, you need to start to move your body to get things moving, to get things flowing in there. So Elena, she's also going to explain a little bit more about this and go into a bit more detailed about the lower back, what stretches are going to be really beneficial for you guys to do during this time. And she's going to, guide you through a sequence of important stretches that you could incorporate while you're at work. Sorry, while you're at home sitting.
Great. So maybe now I'll show some exercises. I don't know if our participants are ready to exercise. Are you guys wearing some comfortable clothes? Anyway, so I totally agree with Alejandra. Main issue what I see is basically coming from sitting a lot and sitting in not exactly in the best position. Of course, like all the time, but specifically now when people sit at home a lot. So when we sit in the chair, we often lose this curvature, right? We often lose this lower back arch, kind of slouch over. And that itself can cause the problem. And if we're not moving it, we're not really bringing the blood flow into that area. So that can get really tight. So as a good exercise for warm up and kind of reestablish that curve in the back, we can start with a bit of a cat cow. So you can bring shoulders over the wrists, soften the elbows, keep your neck long, bring hips over the knees, and just gently start arching the back. Again, we're warming up, so just take your time. And breathing, inhaling up and then exhaling round in the back. And you'll notice the lower back kind of moves itself. So good idea here. Also focus on the upper spine, making sure that all vertebrae are moving. Inhaling, keeping the neck long, exhaling up. So let's do it several times. Connect to your breath. It's a great exercise to warm up anytime during the day if you feel like just need to move your body. Really gets your entire spine. Good. Just a couple more for now. Good. And it warms up also those what we call QL muscles, the muscles that often responsible for tightness in the lower back. Another main reason is weak core, and it usually comes together with other issues. So to strengthen the core, even from here, keep a neutral spine. Again, we don't want to lose that arch. So make sure it stays there. Don't round the back. And just hold in this position. Feel your belly. Inhale, inflating. And then exhale, it works against the guide to drawing belly in toward the spine without losing the curve in the spine now. So feel like you're going to contract in there. And again, inhale and exhale. And if you're just starting, you can just do that without moving anything else. But if you've been doing it for a while, you can start with lifting the knees or even just, no, I wouldn't lift one knee, just both knees off the ground. Just make sure you feel your core. You don't put too much tension in the lower back. So you hold it here and doing the same thing. So you draw in the belly in on the exhale, inhale out. So activating the deep abdominal muscles. Good. So that's another one I suggest. But now I want to go into like the most kind of the muscle that gets tight the most from sitting, and that kind of pulls on that lower back muscles and makes it really uncomfortable, is a hip flexors, right? So when we sit, just think about it, we're here, right? So hip flexor, the muscle is called iliopsoas. So it goes from the spine into the hip bone, right? So from seated position, it's contracted constantly. Same if you think about it, your hamstrings constantly stay contracted as well. But first I want to address this muscle. So it's good to get up once in a while, at least once in an hour, I would say. Do a bit of cat-cow to warm up. And then from here, how you can stretch that hip flexor. You just bring one foot forward between the hands. Very important that your hips stay square. Don't open it because that would be different muscle. And you're just gonna lean forward. Yeah, until you feel nice stretch in the front of the hip. You can come up here a little bit as well. Just don't compress your lower back. So we're turning hips forward, feeling nice stretch. Hold it here at least 30 seconds. So let's hold it here together. Breathe deeply. And you probably know this stretch from your yoga classes, warrior one position. So you can do any kind of variation of it. You can lift, you can turn the foot. But here it's,
And
yes.
by the way, I was just gonna say, like Elena says, when I work on people, the hip flexor is usually the first muscle that gets tight before people start to experience back pain.
No back issue, yeah. So let's do the other side. And we can, so here, we're just gonna switch. Bring another foot forward. Shift your weight forward. Keep the hip square. This front knee over the heel. Good. Hold, breathe. Again, we're gonna be here for 30 seconds. Pay attention to your lower back because there might be tendency to kind of compress it. Don't. Keep it in neutral. A little bit more here. Hope you're doing it with me there.
If you have any questions about it, feel free to write it on the chat box.
Okay, and I'm going back. So that would be a pretty important stretch to do every day. As a massage therapist, I can also manually release that muscle. Pretty much you just finding the hip bone here, the one that sticks out, and your belly button, and in the middle, if you can use like a tennis ball or something, but it might be painful. It's probably better to go to a therapist for that, I would say. But I mean, if you kind of, you can experiment with that. Anyways, now I want to show another stretch for hamstrings, because as I said, in sitting posture, another muscle that kind of constantly contracted, passively contracted, but it gets shortened, is your hamstrings. To stretch hamstrings, the best way is to lay down on your back, because then you don't compensate with your spine. It just stays relaxed and straight. So you lay down on your back. You can grab a towel, anything you have, just kind of that you can put around the ball of your foot. If you can you see me? If you can, extend your other leg and just pull it gently towards you. Relax everything else. I do like to do a bit of resisted stretch. I find it's just more effective. Both stretches work, but if you resist a little bit against the band or the towel and then gently pull towards you. Yes, ideally we want to gain that flexibility with the strength at the same time. So strength through the range of motion.
Yeah, and hamstrings are such an important muscle because they have so many functions in our bodies. They help with the mobility, of course, of our lower back, but then also our hips and knees. So if you're a runner, for example, a lot of runners, they often struggle with tight hamstrings or sometimes spastic hamstrings. So that's when they are, for example, doing long distance running and suddenly they get a flare up of their hamstrings. So this is a really important stretch that Elena is showing for today.
And yeah, I'm just gonna switch sides. So I assume everybody's doing it with me. So I'm doing it for 30 seconds or more.
And Elena, what about if, do you recommend that people stretch for longer than 30 seconds, or what do you normally find is the best length of time?
I would say 30 seconds is optimal. It's the minimum too, but most people don't have patience to do it more than 30 seconds. So 30 seconds is sufficient. I'd rather you to do it more often than just hold it for prolonged time, or at other stretches as well. I really like dynamic stretches again, because I'm all about strength through range of motion, not just the flexibility. But definitely, if you want to stay here for a minute, that's totally fine as well. But minimum, I would say 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So we're gonna release this one. So I'm gonna show one more, maybe a couple more. So the next one, I'm gonna do it kneeling. You can also do it standing. So QL muscles, that's muscle that we actually, when we complain about back pain, that's most of the time that muscle that's affected. So it's deep inside your back, right? And to get that muscle stretched, you can do it from kneeling with me. You can bring arms up over the head, interlace the fingers if you want. Inhale, reach up, and then exhale, just bend to the side. And we can do it moving first. So inhaling up, elongating the spine, exhale, bend to the other side. So you feel in the stretch, you'll feel the hip as well, but you will feel it goes into the lower back too. So inhale up, and then exhale, other side. I usually like to do it dynamic first and then hold it for several breaths each side.
So for those that are new, so dynamic means when you're moving, when you're lengthening the muscle, but you're not staying in one position, like Elena is showing right now. She's moving back and forth.
And it's a good way to warm up as well. And then we can hold. So this is more a static stretch, stationary stretch. And we're not collapsing here. So it's always good to remember about the core muscle and feeling that sense of lift and also grounding. So if we bend into the right, we ground into the left side. And that's where we feel in the stretch. And breathing deeply. Breath is really important because that's how we release that tension. Inhale up. Exhale out the side, and let's hold here.
And also what I like to point out is that if you see Elena, she's not forcing anything. She's, it looks very easy, it looks very fluid, and that's also what you want to aim for. Sometimes I see people that like they're trying to stretch and it's like they're forcing themselves into a position and they're grimacing and they're holding their body under tension, and that's not the way to do it. That can actually aggravate an issue more. You really want to do it the way how Elena is showing it, get it very easily, very fluid. Deep breath in, don't force yourself into any position that is causing you a lot of pain or discomfort.
Yeah, it's a great point, because I think we have this assumption in the head that everything we gain has to be through suffering or struggle, but it's not like that. Especially with stretching, and we really have to change your mentality about it. Like it's everything we can do with joy and really, yeah, feeling good about doing it, listening to the body, breathing into it. So I think it's kind of like a new paradigm that we're entering now.
Yeah.
With stretching and exercises as well. So maybe one more to finish, because this one will get it also will get the QL, that muscle in the lower back, but also hips, because usually again when we see it, I don't know if it's going to perform this muscle today because it's more where pain along the leg, but it's all related. The deep muscle inside the hip there, that also just with sitting and the gravity pushing on it, it gets tight and it can compress the sciatic nerve as well. So this simple twist actually gets that muscle and it gets QL muscle as well. So if we lay down like this and bring knee to the chest to start, and we're gonna open, so right knee to the chest, right arm open. It's important. I like to keep the stretch active again, just so we don't pull on the joint, right? Because again, that's what happens sometimes in yoga. So we're jumping around, but it happens sometimes in yoga if we don't keep the alignment, if we don't think about length in the spine. Sometimes we can do something with SI joint, the joint where hip and spine meet. So we have to be careful about that and strengthen it, which is another good topic. But anyway, so with the stretch, we want to keep the length in the spine. So we're reaching out through the left heel, inhale, and as we exhale, we're gonna slowly turn. So nothing shifting here in the lower back. We want to feel the stretch in the hip. So basically in the muscles, not in the joint. So we're not looking for any cracking there, although it might happen. So hold it here again, 30 seconds. Walking with the breath. So inhale, reach out through that lower heel. Activate the core. Again, when you activate the core, it always protects the back. So you can activate it, especially if you wish to go a little bit deeper in the stretch, if it feels good. So with the hip, it rotates it in, which is opposite of what piriformis muscle does.
And by the way, when I work on people that have back pain or they've had chronic lower back pain, usually I find a lot of inflammation and a lot of irritation right where Elena is stretching right now. So around the SI joint, which is around our tailbone, and higher up the tailbone on our sacrum area, the joint between at the base of the spine. That's one of the main areas where people tend to accumulate so much tension, so much irritation. So if you are, for example, somebody that you have pain when you move from sitting to standing, it could be that you might be having a lot of chances are you might be holding a lot of tightness and perhaps causing a lot of inflammation in this area. So this is an excellent stretch.
Good. So we're just gonna go to the other side. So reaching out to the right heel, opening left arm, inhale. Exhale, twist to the right, look to the left. Again, keeping it active, core engaged. We're not rushing to get here down to the ground, really listening to the body. So inhaling lands and then exhaling, twisting. Focusing more on the hip. Couple more deep breaths. Want to make sure we hold it equally because, yeah, might be tendency to shorten the other side. A little bit more. Good. And coming back. And if actually, since we've been mentioning a side joint so much, maybe I'll show another one. This is a bridge posture, which is really good for stabilizing that side joint. So I like to do it with the block, but it's not necessary. If you don't have it, it's okay. Or you can squeeze something else between the inner thighs. So heels close to the hips, toes facing forward, palms up, and we can roll the spine up, and we'll just hold it here. Inhale, make sure there is space between chin and chest, palms facing up, shoulders relaxed. Exhale. And this one actually is also getting the glutes activated, which is another good point. Lots of times when people complain about lower back pain, I don't know, Alejandra, you probably noticed that too, the glutes are not activating properly.
Yeah.
So this is a great exercise to activate the glutes. You can really feel them. I don't know who can feel them working there. Yeah, you can inhale and then you can even pulse a bit on the exhale to activate them even more. Make sure your core is active too. You'll feel all this muscle there working around the lower back. But again, we want to feel glutes and we want to feel hamstrings here as well.
And it's often when there's back issues, it's sometimes the challenge is to find that balance between how much stretching versus how much strengthening to do. So depending on the pain, depending on what's going on, some people might benefit initially a bit more from the stretching, and other people might be needing more of the strength and the stability component. So it's good to understand the difference between stretching, strengthening, and stability, because they're really they're different components, different aspect of what helps to maintain the health of your back.
Yeah, and now so we roll the spine down, and you can just finish up here by bringing knees to the chest, because it was a bit of a back bend, which is great for the spine. And you can also hug under the knees, what we call the happy baby in yoga. Make sure, again, there is a common thing, people try to lift the hips off the ground here. So make sure your tailbone is on the ground. And if you're comfortable, you can grab your big toes to deepen the stretch here. Releasing it after the back bend. And that's probably going to be our last one for today. There are so many exercises. I know myself, I can't stop. So yes, we'll stop today with this one. Unless we'll have more time maybe at the end. But I will add the link here. And I will schedule maybe a full class specifically focusing on everything we discussed today. And we'll do like an hour of lower back pain prevention class. Yeah.
And also, if you've been as well, one of the things that I can also advise you to do is, if you've had pain for a long period of time, is to figure out what is the position, the movement that helps you feel better. So for some people, it might be forward flexion. For other people, it might be a back bend or extension going back. For other people, it might be side to side. So it's a good idea to do those motions and to figure out which one is the one that makes you feel better and the one that makes you feel worse. And do about 10 of the ones that make you feel better. So for example, if forward flexion relieves your pain, but extension makes it worse, then I would advise you to do 10 to 15 forward flexion. And once you're done with that, slowly and gently try a few back extension to see if it feels better. Usually once you've mobilized your spine on the direction that feels better for you, then the direction that is most painful, it starts to feel better as well, because you've moved the joint and you've mobilized the tissues around there. So that's, if you want to know more, if you've had lower back pain for a while and it's really getting to you, and you want to figure out what is the root cause of this pain, you can also contact us, right, for a free consultation, which is an opportunity to examine your back, do a full assessment at no charge, and then let you know what is the real cause of your back pain. I'm only doing this because if you were a member of this webinar today, that's my offer. And Elena, how can we find you as well? So you're also doing a lot of yoga classes online and
Yes, I do live Facebook and live YouTube classes. So I think I'll just post it here in the comments, my page where you can sign up for the next class. It's probably going to be YouTube live.
Excellent. So thank you so much for anybody who's watching right now. Thanks so much for watching. And if you have any questions, go ahead and let us know. Once again, my name is Alejandra Rodriguez. I'm the owner of Stay Active Rehabilitation, a rehabilitation clinic downtown Toronto. And this is Elena Klimenko, yoga instructor and also registered massage therapist.
Yeah, thank you everyone for joining. We'll be here for a bit, maybe watching the questions. Yeah, let's see if there are any questions.
Sure. If anybody has any questions or comments, just let us know in the chat box.
Okay. Good.
No.
All right. Thank you, Alejandra.
Thanks, Elena. Thanks, everybody. See you guys soon. Bye.
We'll do something interesting again soon.